So if you watch a lot of our show, you're going to come to a conclusion, if you don't know the basis for our show, that we're against Biden and his administration. That's the last thing we are. Biden and his administration with his Vice President Kamala Harris is giving us every reason in the world to be critical. But to show that this show is far from a ideologically based, this is all we talk about show, I got a big problem with Donald Trump, and I want to tell everybody why I have a problem. Now, a few shows ago in the basic section of it, I talked about Republican candidates for 2024 that are a little younger than Donald Trump, are a little less controversial than Donald Trump. I'll give you the four. Chris Christie, Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, and the governor from DeSantis from Florida. Those were the four individuals that I said are going to be rivaling whatever Donald Trump does or does not do leading up to 2024, okay? The problem that I have today and why I decided to do the Unplugged on this, Trump aims now to oust the rhinos, Republican in name only, sellouts who voted for the infrastructure bill with three exceptions. Now, he's made this huge declaration that I'm going after these people, and here's why I'm going after these people. He has three people that voted for this that he's not going after, okay? That takes a little bit of the credibility away, okay? To me, takes a little bit. Did they make a side deal? What's the story? I don't know. But he is using his influence, okay? I've said this all along. I don't think the infrastructure bill should have been passed until we completely and totally understood how it was going to be paid for. Our country is broke. We have a $29 trillion debt that's climbing. We have deficits of over $1 trillion every year that's adding to the debt. We don't have the money to do these things. These 13 Republicans cross over. And I got a gigantic problem with this, is that the Senate approved this thing 3 months before the House approved it. But if there were changes and there were additions to the bill, which I covered last Unplugged, of, you know, all this other stuff that's not infrastructure, why didn't it go back to Mitch McConnell? Why is it being signed today? Somebody's got to explain this to me. And again, I say it every time I hit this subject. Shame on the national media for not getting to the bottom of it. I thought your mantra was to protect the American people. Well, what are you doing on this one? Okay? I don't hear anybody talking about how it's going to be paid for. Trump's quote, "In saving America, it starts by saving the GOP from rhino sellouts and known losers." That's his comment. That's one of the reasons why his abrasiveness is not completely accepted in the center where I sit, okay? And I will tell you, in 2016, I voted for Trump. I thought having a businessman in there, I thought that all the things, and he did some really, really, really good things, you know, with the economy and with jobs and you know, pro-America stuff and the border that I thought were really, really good things. He did really good things. But he can't control himself. And this is a sense of arrogance that I'm going to decide, you know, with my 38% base, okay? Because that's about the size of his base, 38 to 40%. Got to remember, Biden has about 40% over here, and Trump has about 40% over here, and in the middle there's 20%, which I personally sit, okay? These are the people that are going to dictate where the country goes, because these bases are pretty well cemented, okay? And you've got, you know, Trump supporters that if they saw him shooting somebody on TV, they wouldn't convict him, all right? But he has called for primarying 11 people in Congress, which means I'm going to find people, this is what Donald Trump is saying, and we're going to run against you because you didn't vote the way that I thought. I would love to have the Republicans basically say to those 13 Republicans, I would love to hear the Republican Party say, listen, if you voted for this, you shouldn't have voted for it because it's a situation where we don't know how we're going to pay for it. If they said that, they would have my attention. But what they say is they say, you gave Biden the victory and we had him on the ropes and you're a traitor and you're a loser. I mean, Trump calls these people losers. You don't use that kind of language. You don't want your kids using that kind of language. So there were 3 House Republicans that were, for whatever the reason, left off, but he's going after 11 of them. So what does this mean for the GOP moving forward? Okay? There are many inside the GOP, that believe that Trump is going to run again, and he's going to announce sometime after the midterms for all of these election finance laws that he's got to stay inside of, and that he's going to try to steamroller the Republican Party into nominating him again and putting him back in the White House. I personally don't think that's what's best for our country. I think Donald Trump does love his country. And again, I have to say it. I'll say it 100 times. He has done good things for his country when he was president. But he also became so abrasive and he became so polarizing that people just turned themselves off. Donald Trump's big deal was he didn't manage the COVID thing in the beginning the way I thought he should have managed it. But in no way is that secondary to what Joe Biden's now doing on 17 different fronts, okay? This has not been a good run for our country. It just the last, 5 years. I thought the last year of Trump's presidency was really mired by this whole COVID thing. And it's not an easy thing. But to come in and use this heavy-handedness, I know deep down inside the party, they're concerned about that. I'm concerned about it because I'd like to see a reasonable process. And if Donald Trump, which he's an American citizen, wants to run again, I support that. He has every reason in the world to do it. But I'd like to see it not have the fervor and the speak and some of the rhetoric that I think we're going to see, that I think is going to be really, really, really divisive in this country. And Sarah, I know that, you, because you've talked about it on the show, that you agree with me that Trump has done some really good things when he was president. And you look at this presidency of Joe Biden and you kind of just, shake your head. But do you see what I see on the horizon, that there's going to be a civil war inside the Republican Party? And this is an indication where you're going after people now publicly. This is an indication that it's not going to be nice.
I agree with that. And unfortunately, it's not something the Republican Party can afford if they want to win the House, when elections roll back around, when the presidential elections roll back around. And unfortunately, everything you're saying is, in my mind, right on the money, because Trump, while maybe he has some good ideas moving forward, maybe, a lot of the party does agree that they're unhappy with the 12 who voted for this, 13 who voted for this, but unfortunately, the way he's coming at it, the words that are coming out of his mouth, it's the issue that people have had with him all along. They can't stand the way he addresses and his lack of eloquency, the lack of, care and how he uses his words. And for someone who is supposed to be the president of the United States or the former president of the United States or someone who is running for that position, you generally see them as someone with more sophistication than what he's portraying when he does this.
There's a decorum, Sarah. I think that's a good word. There's a decorum about a president and a former president and how they carry themselves. We've lost some of that. But getting back to the situation, I know that last time I brought it up, you had mentioned Chris Christie and you liked DeSantis and some of the other things. I can't see anything that's going to stop this from being the foreshadowing for what's about to occur, because I think anybody who disagrees with Trump is going to get into his crosshairs.
Yeah, and I hope that doesn't pull apart the party worse.
Right, because I think our country needs the Republican Party now to be strong. Again, I'm not condoning Democrat, Republican, or anything, but if you're a Democrat and you're out there and you're a liberal and you're watching our show, thank you for watching. But you can't disagree fundamentally. My liberal friends can't disagree with me privately. that our country is really not running properly right now.
Right.
And so we need a two-party system to be able to balance that, and that's my concern.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right.